Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Action Event live stream broadcast. I'm Shannon from Dubb.com. I'm here with Ruben from Dubb, and of course, Nina Froriep, which is our guest of honor today, and she's a forward thinker, overall video communicator, and just so many things we want to dive into on this action event. So this is your thing, Nina. So I'd like you to just quickly introduce yourself for the audience, and then please get into the topic that you're going to be discussing today.
Awesome. Very good. Well, thank you so much for the quick introduction. So I am a filmmaker, have been a filmmaker for over 30 years of my life. And for the last 6 years, I have been a video marketer. So I'm helping small businesses and business coaches in particular get to easy to implement and consistent video content. And I've been doing this for so many years that there's no scenario I have not seen. And on a personal level, I split my time between New York and Switzerland. I have a beautiful backdrop, so you never really know where I am. That's a big secret. And I'm being owned by a small dog called Tigger, and that's about it. So wanted to dive in, if I may, into
please do.
what I want to talk today. So what I do want to talk about is how to convert with video to getting clients, because that's really why we're doing what we're doing, right? We're not creating these videos and going through the whole hoopla of all of it just for the fun of it. We actually want to attract, engage with, and convert leads and potential clients into actual clients, and do so on an ongoing basis. And where I see there is often a need for education around this is that people are not quite sure what to focus on and what is important. So I just wanted to sort of give you a quick top list of things that I think people should focus on to see that their videos are converting and are attracting new clients. So number one, and I think that is sort of the most important point, and I think I'm going to make it my middle name, is consistency. And when I talk about consistency, I actually mean several things. So consistency, number one, is be consistent in your messaging, in the way you show up, in the way that you share your thought leadership and your expertise, and be consistent because what video does really, really well is create that connection with you and creates trust. People buy from people. They don't buy, they buy services, of course, but they really buy from people that they like. So if you're not consistent in how you're showing up, A, you're confusing people, and B, the worst part is if they get on a Zoom call with you after they've watched you on video, and you're like the bad date, right? That all of a sudden shows up and is 50 pounds heavier and 20 years older than what they were on their profile. So you want to be you. It also is much easier to be you consistently on video than some souped up version of you, right? So that's a consistency part. The second consistency part is be consistent in your posting. By that, I mean, post on the same day, at the same time, all the time. Not that your audience is necessarily going to catch you as you're posting, but we're all creatures of habit. And when people have sort of their routine on when they're going to their social media feed to check things out, and you are regular and they sort of have their routine, you will show up for them consistently, no matter whether you just posted 5 minutes prior or 24 hours prior, it doesn't matter. But that consistency pays off hugely, because then people actually know that your content is coming out, it's reliable, and they know that here's the next great tip or the next great thought or the next great insight that they want to hear from you, because otherwise they wouldn't be engaging with you if they weren't interested in what you have to say, right? So that's the consistency part. The other thing that we have learned at Clockwise, my company, is that learning happens so much more efficiently and much more tangibly when it happens in the group setting. So I would urge you that if you do want to put out video on a really consistent, like I'm talking 2, 3, 4, 5 times a week, put yourself into a group that gives you support, that gives you accountability. A group will inspire you. You will see what your group mates are doing. and they will see what you're doing, and it can be a really fruitful and engaging and very creative exchange, and it'll support you and give you accountability. And you can do that. There are masterminds out there are pods out there. You can create your own group, but just give yourself that support, because video marketing can become a little a lonely affair if you're doing it all by yourself. And I think all creative endeavors can benefit from having influences from the outside that help you create good content. The next step that I would make sure that if you really want to be sure to be consistent with your video marketing is to batch produce. And so batch producing, there's people who say, I don't want to batch produce. I want to be on my social media feed every day. I want to be super current. I want to be super up to date with what the hot topic discussion is right now, and sort of feed into that. And that is great. And I think people who do that are definitely doing a really great job. But inevitably, the day will come where your cat throws up all over the carpet, your child comes home from school with a scraped up knee, and your car doesn't start and you have to go for emergency repair. For those days, you want to have a video library, and that's where batch producing comes in. So especially for us ladies, when I do my hair, I do my makeup, I set up my backdrop, and I look all spiffy. Why just shoot one video? Why not just shoot 5, 6, 7? The better, the more you do it, the better you get. I normally stop at about 5 videos, just so I can keep up with the editing as well. But batch producing really is something that helps you with your time efficiency, and it gives you that sort of that little, stash of videos when life happens and shit hits the fan. So that is something I highly, highly recommend you do. And then sort of on the simpler side is one video, one topic, and keeping it short. Your audience will love you when your social media videos are, let's say, 90 seconds and less. And I so often have clients, especially when they start working with me, who create these like really long videos with like 5 different topics. I'm like, no. Like this could have been, you could have created 4 or 5 videos out of this. So just keep your videos super short and succinct and to one point. There is a place for longer videos. There is a place for extended thoughts, but that is not on your social media feed. And when I say social media, I'm actually not talking about YouTube. YouTube, in my book, is not a social media feed. In my book, it's a search engine. And YouTube, yes, you can go much longer. And if you have an audience that demands that or wants that, that's great. But for your social media feed, where I want you to go and connect with your new leads, your new clients, keep it short and keep it succinct. And then I think one of the biggest offenders that I see with video marketing is that people do not have a call to action at the end of their video. And a call to action is not to be confused with being salesy. So a call to action can be as simple as, hey, why don't you leave me a comment below and let me know what you think about XYZ topic? Or why don't you download the lead magnet below this video? Or, what is your experience with this, and this? So you're creating these videos, as I said at the very top of this, to engage with leads and create a place where people can engage with you. If you're not asking people a succinct question at the end of your video, they're not going to engage with you. And then why create the video in the first place? So make sure you have a call to action on every single video. I even put a call to action on the videos that I host on my website, where I talk about, I don't know, my background story or whatever it is. There's always a call to action you can add, like, click on the button below. Book some time to speak to me if you have any questions, or scroll further down, watch this video. It'll give you more information. Whatever it is, always make sure you give your audience a reason to engage with you. And they actually, I find that people really appreciate being told what to do at the end of the video. So, if you want to make sure that you are creating videos that get you new leads and get you new clients. You want to be consistent, and you want to make sure you have that call to action. You want to be short and succinct. Those are sort of the 3 top ones.
Wow, that's awesome. That's fantastic. Thank you so much for going through those topics. I mean, I personally just learned, I feel like within that short, like the 10 minutes, actually, a lot. And that's what the Action Summit's all about. We really like to highlight these short little punctual thoughts that you've learned yourself over the years. So thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah, I think for me, what I really love and why I love what I do is and why I do it is because I actually teach what I do every single day, right? So I'm living what I'm teaching my clients. So I actually know what works and doesn't work. And I mean, yes, of course, it's just one person's opinion, but we're living it at Clockwise. So we actually really know where the focus needs to be, and the focus can shift. There was a time when we were focusing on other things, but right now I always feel like, consistency is going to be my middle name at some point.
Yeah.
and
that's such a great tip.
Yeah, and that might be another focus down the road. Like, we're talking a lot about transformation these days at Clockwise, to teach people from moving from being somebody who knows how to do video to actually doing video, because that is like sort of a big step. But we're finding that there is a gap there, that it is kind of easy to teach people how to do video, especially now where we're all on Zoom all day long. Most of us already have pretty decent content, not even by trying, right? But then to actually do something with it and post it and write a post around it, et cetera, et cetera. So, there's always more to be learned and added on as we go.
There's a couple of takeaways that I have from this. Number one is this idea of really embracing the channel, brevity. Certain channels optimize and work better for shorter content. It's a fact. I mean, when we're on our LinkedIn wall, we only have a little bit of time to actually go through a video before the next distraction comes, or before the next meeting happens. So, having that respect, that empathy for the person's time, I think is really key. And then I also really appreciate how you mentioned that YouTube is different. Is it a social channel? Is it not? I mean, I compare YouTube to Netflix. It's obviously more educational and more diverse, and it's got search, just like what you said. But what a different platform it is. And when I am on YouTube, sound is always on, and I'm committed. I'm ready to sit down for 3 to 10 minutes.
It's a very different behavior that people display on YouTube. And I think, to your point, Ruben, I mean, even for me, if there is a video that is longer than maybe 2 minutes, I wouldn't even start engaging with it. I wouldn't even start listening to it, right?
Right.
But anything that's under 90 seconds, I'm like, okay, we can all spare a minute and a half, right? So it's very different, yeah.
And I think another thing that's really interesting is that, one of the things that creators talk about a lot is repurposing. For example, here we might have a 15-minute video, and then we can download this MP4 file. We can send it to an editor. The editor can chop up the 3 pieces that you mentioned, consistency, brevity, so on and so forth. We can mine 60-second, 90-second clips out of that. And that's viable. Yeah. And that's viable. But we can also go after this, and we can take 3 60-second sessions, and we can just summarize those 3 bullets that we had. No editing required, no chopping required, no watching the 15 minutes, finding the trim part, trimming it out, and so on and so forth. So sometimes once you get it in your bones after a long session like this, it's actually good to just say, you know what, I want to go reiterate that. I want to cap up, I want to get that clip, that 60, 90-second clip. And that way I have long form content like what we just did for YouTube and beyond. And then a short bit, which we can then add to our content calendar.
And actually, I copied that from you. All my good ideas I copied from other people. So I do LinkedIn Lives every other week. And I now offer my guests 3 clips, because you did that with me. And I thought that was so generous and was such a great idea to say thank you to somebody who gives some of their valuable time. So I thought that was a great idea. And repurposing is huge. It requires having an editor, because longer format you don't want to do yourself, because that unless you're making editing a hobby, which I did for a while. And at some point I was like, oh God, no more. I need an editor.
Yeah. No, it's a lot of work, especially if you're doing like hour-long podcasts, and then you have to create 15 micro segments out of that. hour-long podcast, that means watching that podcast, but then also analyzing which segments are actually valuable enough to post.
Yeah.
I love what you said about building a library, because that's so important with consistency. And it's like, we all know consistency is needed on social, and we all try to do that, but I feel like it's in starts and spurts. Maybe we'll do it for a week or 2 weeks, but then something else happens, whether it's in life or business, and there's another priority. But creating that library, that was like a huge takeaway for me, because it's then you're like, life happens, and the library is there to save you. The library can jump in, and when you're dealing with what you have to deal with, like, what you all do at some point, you can't be creating content 24/7, but you can have a library. So I really appreciated that.
Well, Shannon, another really interesting thing is that sometimes if we were to go take this clip, assign it to an editor to download a micro clip from it, the time it might take to put in the task in Asana or Monday.com or Basecamp, whatever we use, Trello, or to go send a message in Slack or email, it might actually take longer to do that than it is just to re-record it.
That's true. That too. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and that comes with experience, right? Sometimes there's, like in the beginning, when I started doing my LinkedIn Lives, I would have like this little micro content that I would record before it and then use that. And then at some point I'm like, that's totally not worth it. I'll just take the conversation. I'll take the nuggets out where my guests sound particularly brilliant. And because when you do something like offset like that, mostly people are stilted anyway and not in the flow. They haven't talked themselves into a frenzy yet. And I like to get people when they're like all fired up and super excited about what they do. And that doesn't happen at the beginning of any interview. That happens, a little bit down the road. So.
Yeah, that's really interesting. For me, it's always like the challenge is how to figure out how to get text, audio, photo, and video out of everything that you do. So if you can figure out that, and it's hard. I mean, that's a long list, but you can figure out that, because it can be a podcast, an Instagram post, a photo, or a blog, or a video.
Yep. But that's what SOPs are for, right? And it takes a hot second to get those set up, and that's stuff of part of what I do with my clients is make sure that they actually have a routine that they can follow, so they're not reinventing the reel every single time when they're creating a video, because that is for most people where the time sink comes in, because they're like, oh, how did I do this? What's that? And then, but if you're doing it in batch, if you're doing it regularly, then those things become a routine, and they become something that they do regularly to the point where it becomes second nature.
Yeah, that's awesome tips. Well, thank you so much for joining us on this broadcast, an Action Summit event where we love to really just highlight thought leaders, visionaries like yourself. So thank you for sharing.
Thank you for having me. I love you guys, and I love Dubb, so no brainer.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh, Gia's here to say bye. Gia from Dubb. Bye, everyone. Farewell. Have a good day.